Patrick Mooney of Comcast Sportsnet Chicago, Cubs reporter. All right, recap this situation, Patrick, of exactly what has transpired and what do you think the end result's going to be?
Really, Miguel Montero is gone. He is someone who really did bring a lot of value to the clubhouse. As someone the Cubs wanted that kind of edge, and that's why they brought him into a last place team. And he did mentor some younger players like Kyle Schwarber, and he was very generous with his time with Wilson Contreras as he was broken into as a catcher who would handle a World Series pitching staff. But Theo Epstein was watching the Cubs affiliate in Myrtle Beach and was alerted via text about Montero's comments the other night. And he said it took him about 10 seconds to realize that he wanted to get rid of Montero. And Theo is away from the team and looking at all this paper on talent, all this on-paper talent, and realizing there aren't many ways for a front office, out-of-uniform people to try and spark a flatlining team. And Montero was kind of sacrificed for that idea.
But he had decent numbers there. This isn't his first moment where he speaks up. It feels like there's more to it than just what happened with Arrieta, where he says, I'm a straight shooter and I can't throw anybody out if he doesn't get the ball over the plate. Arrieta signs off and says, I'm fine with it, which I would expect he would do that no matter how he felt. But what else is attached to this situation where this guy in his last year, 33-year-old catcher making, $14 million, they're going to let him walk?
Well, I mean, there's no doubt that Arrieta was sincere in saying, I love Miggy. I mean, this is a guy who caught his no-hitter at Dodger Stadium the night the Cubs wore their onesies, another Joe Maddon kind of gimmick. And I think the kind of bottom line is that Miguel Montero is no longer performing like an all-star. And if the Cubs were 20 games over 500 the way they were around this time last year, I don't think it happens. I mean, the Cubs have kind of played all these different cards in terms of bringing up Ian Happ, who's one of their top prospects, demoting Schwarber to kind of send a message. And I think they're kind of running out of shock value moves at this point. And I think Montero is that guy who is kind of, after throwing Arrieta under the bus, he's the one kind of thrown under the bus at this point. And really, he had all this stature in Arizona. He was a clubhouse spokesman, and, he could kind of push the envelope a little more. And, Theo just got to a point where he felt that Montero wasn't worth the trouble anymore.
Do the Cubs feel like contenders?
Well, I think the front office is certainly wondering that themselves. I mean, they look at they're only a game out of first place in a really bad division, and I think you're starting to see the calculus change a little bit. I mean, Joe Maddon the other night left it off saying, the lineup they rolled out there would be questionable in spring training, that they'd be getting a call from MLB headquarters. And I think they're pretty close to that point of understanding that a rental player getting one of those guys at the deadline doesn't really make sense, and that, it's not that hard to envision, that kind of exit press conference in October at Wrigley Field, where Theo kind of frames this as a bridge year or a rebuilding year and points to all these different guys who got experience. And it really is crazy to think, because when they showed up in spring training and you looked at the moves they made, moves that really turned out well. I mean, Wade Davis has been great. Uwe Har's been exactly what they needed. John Jay's been a solid bench guy. I mean, there's so many elements from last year's team on paper that should translate, and it just hasn't. It's really been a system-wide breakdown when you look at, pitching, defense, and the offense.
Patrick, thanks for joining us, and enjoy the ride there.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, Patrick Mooney, Comcast Sportsnet Chicago Cubs reporter.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.